applause for Shri Sudhir Kunder, Country Director, DE-CIX, Interwire, India.
Good morning, and thank you very much, all of you all, for hopefully giving undivided attention. What I'm going to be speaking about, a little bit about our own experiences and in what way are we looking at Chennai specifically, and how it is actually in the midst of getting transformed into a global, data center hub and cloud hub. So this is just a little bit of trivia. The Indian DC ecosystem as of now looks like about 162 colo data centers spread across 26 cities and 19 IX points, as we call it. Interesting, but a little bit busy slide. If you see, the internet users in terms of population in 2017 was at 26.7%, and as of now, it's leapfrogged to 59.5% of the population. Devices have gone through the roof from 1.6 billion in 17 to 2.2 billion in 22. The average speeds, again, have gone in from 9.5 megs to 31.2 megs. And just look at the colossal jump in data consumption, so to speak, or the traffic, if I have to say that, from 2.4 to about 14 gigs. So what are the influencing factors, if I might want to say? Investment, market, and policy. These are the three things that we feel are one of the key factors, some of the key factors that help us with our thoughts that why is Chennai so important for all of us. First factor, which is more important, most important one, is in 2021, tentatively in the range of about 18,000 crores is what investment came in. And these are a couple of names in the companies, but I'm sure there are more. From 18,000, we are looking at about 36,000 crores is the number as of now, as per our information. This is in October 22. Small trivia. Sometime back in October 21, I met up with a senior journalist out here, and we had a chat around why DE-CIX thinks that Chennai is going to become the data center hub, specifically because of the moratorium that was there in Singapore, and how that will help not only Chennai, but because of that, India as well. Although the moratorium got lifted recently with some conditions in place, the growth story is still there, and there's huge headroom, as was enumerated by Mr. Pabla as well. So the key observations, if you see, more than 30% of India's subsea cable and about, which will connect to about 250 odd landing stations worldwide, are housed in Tamil Nadu. And we see a reasonably good amount of OFC available from a wired network standpoint when you look at the length and breadth of Tamil Nadu. And if you see 6 plus submarine landing stations coming in here with 14 plus terabits here and about 1 terabyte in Tuticorin, so to speak. So when we move to the next part, which is the policy, while the government was gracious enough in the budget period to say that data center will become will be granted the infrastructure status, we saw the state government take great initiatives out here, and that having been said, earlier Manoj and all have said that there is always focus areas which we would want to look forward to, but other than that, what we've seen is a couple of pluses that are in terms of special rates for electricity, or for that matter, single window clearance and stuff like that. This typically is a little bit of a busy slide, but it talks about how 11% of the IT investments today get done or deployed here in Chennai. There is huge pluses that we see out here, and those are also observed on a day-to-day basis when we do business, because after having done whatever we did in West and Mumbai, for us, Chennai and south of India and Delhi happen to be the next growth markets, and that's how we track it very closely. So I wouldn't want to typically read out the whole thing in the interest of time, but just wanted to share a few findings that we had. So from a global perspective, as you can see, cumulatively 1.3 trillion is what we are anticipating as investment in the DC industry, and a couple of other trivia that I've mentioned. But what is more interesting for us to note is over the period of 19 to 25, an investment of about $28 billion is expected in India, and a CAGR of 5. Well, this is the actual factual record, but you and I, both of us know that it's going to be far, far more ahead of what is being today spoken about. And a host of advantages that India has intrinsically, which helps us, with our key findings, whether it is the available of skilled manpower, whether it is the ability of organizations to quickly rally and, manage the intricacies of business, which is very, very dynamic as compared to any other advanced economy for that matter. And as Manoj rightly said, the deployments are in primarily in Mumbai and in Chennai, but then we also see Bangalore and other locations come through. Geographic location, power, fiber connectivity in general, all of these factors are something that we see which augur in pretty well. What are the challenges for enterprise customers if we have to see? One is to increase the performance and strength of and the security and resilience of their connectivity. If there is no great connectivity available, there's no point having great infrastructure available to serve enterprises and ISPs in our case. Somebody mentioned vendor lock-in, which is very important, and hence I've mentioned that out here as well. How do we bring in more flexibility in vendor lock-in? Reduce the complexity of connections, and an interconnection platform can definitely play a great role in doing that. And how do we help compliance? That is very important as organizations like us who are relevant both to enterprises and ISPs at the same time. So if I have to broadly say what are the three key KPIs, is geographical coverage of carrier and data center neutral interconnection infrastructure would be the first one, followed by a great diversity and density of network that we feel will be a key KPI for any data center. And last but not the least, scalable and customizable interconnection services that with due humility we offer across the globe as well. So what are the steps that we see somebody needs to take to increase the data center competitiveness? One, obviously, as I said some time back, increase the network density. Think beyond the cross-connect. Gone are those days where a DC would typically look at a growth model based on only the cross-connect revenues. Today, we see a couple of our data center partners doing some fabulous amount of product engineering, and the kind of SKUs that come out, probably beats any other organization across the globe. So not only are we good in terms of deployment and rapid expansion, but we're also good in wanting to capitalize on what we've been putting in the market as a, industry. Third, and most important, I said, is offering flexibility to the enterprise customers. And skilling gap is already going to be there, but how soon are we going to be able to address it and take those proactive steps to ensure that tomorrow when the next gen deployment of technology like IoT, AI, and 5G come in, do we have the right skilled manpower available to ensure that this digital triangle is being served in the right perspective and get the best bang for the buck? So as it is said within the DE-CIX interconnection family, latency is the new currency. And while all applications are going closer to the customers, the most important thing is controllability of the infrastructure and data flow that any enterprise would look forward to today. And it is not today, but in my earlier endeavors also in other organizations, I've seen that this is one of the key KPIs that any customer at a CIO, CXO level would want to look at. So this is how the traditional mechanism looks at, where controllability becomes a little bit of a challenge, and along with that come the challenge of security and compliance. So it's a whole maze which is so difficult, and I'm sure in your own interactions with the decision makers, you would be, facing these questions, queries that would have come in some time point with your customers. So against that, what is it that we do to solve the interconnection challenges that an enterprise needs, keeping in mind controllability of the infrastructure and the data flows. So this is what a single access port, which is able to provide multiple services, get better performance, get great latencies, and take security and compliance also into consideration. I'll quickly run through some trivia. Somebody mentioned OTT. 2018, we had only Reliance with one OTT offering in India. Come 2022 March, I'm sure a lot of all would know this, but we are looking at 58 OTT apps. The consumption is going through the roof. Regional content is spreading like anything, and this is how we've seen traffic on vertical-wise. So OTT and VOD has gone up by a colossal. This is a 28-month data, but this is only making a point that not only during the COVID times, but through and through, we've seen unabated growth across these segments, whether it is gaming, whether it is ISP, whether it is segments like colo, so on and so forth. Now, how is DE-CIX relevant? And not wanting to spend too much of time on this busy slide, the only thing that I would want to say is the value prop that we bring to the DCs helps us become relevant across the spectrum, right from a micro data center to the hyperscale data center and the edge data centers as well, but I will keep that for some other time. Very short 2 seconds on why we see interconnection platforms like ours playing a great role in actually seeing the hype around 5G, because this is the time when we've seen globally use cases are already there in place where we have 5G being put to effective usage. When you bring in this concept that we call as digital interconnection triangle with AI, IoT being the heart, brain, and the hand, so to speak. The edge data center story is very much live, and I feel that next 12 to 18 months we'll see actual fruitification in some shape and form. So just another 5 seconds on what we are going to be launching maps, specifically again targeting Chennai, which will take care of the Silicon Valley also here in Bangalore and Hyderabad. So maps will get launched in Chennai and Mumbai, taking care of at least half of India, which means that it will bring down latencies to O365 dynamic and the entire piece across a single access port, and you'll have 90% reduction in latencies and 50%, minimum of 50% reduction in the travel tickets that the IT guys face due to the workloads, getting a little bit unmanageable sometimes. Very quickly, the DE-CIX enabled interconnection data centers today would help a couple of things getting achieved: reduction in cost, improvement of latencies, secured interconnection network, resilience, and great accessibility to the international data centers as well. A brief glance on what we are globally and in India. This number again changed 2 days back. So now we are at 41 exchanges, 3,000 connected networks, 500 plus data centers across the globe. DE-CIX Mumbai, currently for the last 1.5 years plus, is #1 in terms of connected customers across the Asia-Pacific region, comprising of 29 countries and 153 exchanges. And DE-CIX India also happens to be #1 in terms of connected customers across. So this is something that I touched upon. Single access, giving multiple services like peering, direct cloud, which again is very important for hunting and farming endeavors of organizations which are already established here in the DC ops and also who are setting foot in the Indian market and expanding. Maps will be a game changer, I believe, because that's what we've seen in the last 1.5 years. This is a service that got developed by the global engineering team from DE-CIX in Frankfurt and our friends in the Microsoft team at Seattle. And as of now, I think we have about 1.5 years more as exclusivity on this service, probably in India and APAC as of now. So upcoming services would be Glopeer and DDoS mitigation very soon once we are able to normalize the growth spurt that we will see with Maps deployment in India. These are our data centers. We are present across data center locations only. All our POPs are within data center facilities. And to club this, we have 22 data centers where we can provide services by virtue of a unique tie-up that we've had with Lightstorm Capital Ventures, which got declared in January of this year. So some of our customers, both for direct cloud and services, but I've not mentioned telco here. Last August, we had a telco who came through and onboarded with us with direct cloud. And a product called Easy Cloud today gets sold off in the market, which is actually a white label DE-CIX direct cloud. That gives us a lot of confidence that there has been a paradigm shift in the telco domain as well. While we've been trying to say that we are all collaborators in the industry, that is being understood, and we are, as of now, at final stages of discussion with another telco for the same implementation. In short, amongst host of other global and international accolades and things, seventh time in row is what DE-CIX got as a best internet exchange globally, and a couple of Indian ones.
Just to add to what Kavita is saying, we've moved a little bit, couple of steps ahead at the right direction, is now, rather than proactive and reactive, we've moved into predictive. And security being one of the prime KPIs when we've seen the cloud business, for example, or data center onboarding, for example, becoming the new norm specifically because of what the pandemic did. And there has been humongous amount of movement of on-prem to DC or cloud for that matter, or the hybrid. There's always a concern. And the first level of concern, rather than all other things from a consumer or a CIO, CXO point of view, is when I move away from here, what's going to happen to my security layer in the first place? And with the kind of incidences that have been happening around the globe, and not wanting to tread on thin ice and not wanting to take names, all of us know the kind of security breaches that have happened in the recent past. I think it becomes an imperative for not only the new gen DC companies which are coming into play, but also those guys who've been doing business and have a lion's share of the market out here. So while you implement AI in a different manner, you are able to put together those resources in such a manner that you are able to detect and mitigate. And those signals, how are you able to look at the colossal amount of data that is coming, slice and dice it, and then apply machine learning to it, and then come at a mitigation plan? If I have to give a little bit of unrelated piece as to how vulnerable things are, best of the best people got compromised, and I don't know whether anybody can put a number without thinking. There was a Pegasus event that happened, you know. It was so smoothly done that hardly anybody came to know what happened. And the bugger made $50 million just out of getting in this kind. So there are resources available at the dark web. There are people who would want to take fun element and get into a different plane. And all these are real-time threats that have to be taken into consideration. And I think it is an imperative that by applying these new gen technologies, and by virtue of having a lot of international onboardings that we do, and our data centers placed, as you saw some time back, globally, we see this being adopted already internationally. And since we don't have too much of legacy infrastructure at our end, the way in which it will get adopted, implemented, and monetized will also make a difference. Because ultimately, if I am a data center organization today, I will stand out in the crowd when people know that I am an AI-enabled data center as compared to a run-of-the-mill standard operating company.
Thank you, thank you. So that's a very other hot topic these days, of course, sustainability. Right? We all are going towards green energy, renewable power, and so on and so forth. How do you see this technology of AI/ML playing a part in it? Sundar, maybe you can start.
You see, this is a very recent example that, for the sake of not taking away their mojo, I wouldn't want to name them. But I know of a data center organization which is effectively implemented this in their endeavor. They know that they are on the wrong side of it, but they are committed to it. So what's typically happened today is that they have implemented AI/ML at A end, which is the current ops, and they are trying to offset it by going and taking something as a land parcel and then seeing what is it that I am able to churn out as predictive, as we said. If this is what I am going to consume today, what is it as per my sales cycle that I am going to be consuming in the next 6 months or a year? And for that, I go and buy a solar power plant overnight in some remote place. Then I start balancing it out and using the data crunching that is happening here in the metro, go ahead and take a decision, because procurement of land and building these kind of infrastructures don't happen overnight. Then they take those small steps in the right direction, so that eventually, while they are taking steps, but those are steps that are being taken in the right direction. So in many ways, I mean, it's a longish kind of answer that I could give, but to set the context and tone right, I think we are blessed to be in a place where there is hardly any legacy infrastructure or legacy deployment, as I keep saying, as a result of which it gives us an unfair advantage to put things to practice and quickly make things happen the way we would like to see it.
Okay. Good.
That's mine.
Sure. So as we probably coming back to the skill set based question here again. Do you see our education system or our government is doing enough to actually bridge the skill gap, what is required for our industry, for the data center especially?
But always good to know where you are and then focus on where you need to be.
Yeah, right.
So yes, I think while there is a lot that is being spoken about in terms of digital transformation and all nice sounding words from a governmental perspective as well, but I think it's about time that one takes a pause and looks at it from a framework of education as to what is it that we are able to reorient as of today. That kind of massive workforce will tomorrow be available on ground to be able to decipher what's happening. And then, of course, you can talk about reskilling and keep on upgrading people's skills. But some of the curriculums that you see today really shocks you, to say the least. And I think there is huge amount of, scope that I personally feel that is there for all, governmental agencies, so to speak, while it can be channelized in the right manner. See what kind of industry verticals are coming up. Like today, I think the next 10 years is going to be data center all the way around, for example. So when this buzz started 3 years back, was there a conscious effort taken to have the foresight to understand that what is it that it will take for us to be able to have that kind of, So while it is a very wide subject, yes, there is a lot of room for improvement. And I think it will typically augur well for us that from a state center standpoint, the states take the initiative and get things rolling as much as wait, and as we are prone to doing, look up for help and support rather than look in for what we can do. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Sure.